Hey guys, Dennis here, and welcome back to another brand new episode of Collider Games Podcast. I'm here with
Mark Fernandez.
And also, for the first time on video, we had him on Skype before audio. Amazon kind of had a late delivery on the webcam, but it came through finally. We've got Caboose, in the house. He's right here, I think.
Caboose.
Right here in the middle. You're right here, floating head.
Hello. My floating head is here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm happy to be on, and I'm happy finally to have my face on the Collider Games Podcast.
Yes, and we're going to talk games, but obviously the game on everyone's mind.
Yeah, and console.
And in my dreams.
Is it in your dreams? Are you having... So look, so only very few games in my life have graduated to dreams, right? So like I have video game dreams, but it's typically only like the best games that I play. So like the last video game dream that I had was actually with Marvel's Powers United, when it gave me that Spider-Man VR feel. Like I had a dream that night where I was Spider-Man, and the game mechanics were just like in the VR game, right? Jedi Outcast gave me dreams. America's Army gave me dreams. Star Wars Galaxies obviously gave me dreams. And I think that's it. So for a game,
have you started dreaming about this one yet?
I haven't dreamt about Red Dead yet.
Okay,
but I've been talking like Arthur.
Okay,
we went to Vegas for a crypto conference last week, and we made a pit stop in the town of Calico. So Calico is like this little ghost town in between Los Angeles and Las Vegas. Yeah. And man, I was in Valentine, like I was looking for the saloon, I was like looking to take a bath in the tub, I mean, the game is an incredible game, but it still hasn't affected my subconscious. Have you had dreams about it?
I have. I mean, the last one I did have dreams about was Fallout, Fallout 4. This one I have. I think the one thing, though, is because it's a third-person game versus a first-person game, it doesn't intrude as much. So when I'm dreaming about the game, I'm actually dreaming of, like, as opposed to me being in the game, I'm playing the game. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
so Caboose, do you have video game dreams?
Yes. So, like, when I've had one for Red Dead, and I think it just happens, especially when I've put in a ton of hours into a game. So with Red Dead, I'm like, God knows how many hours in on game time. And yeah, not even just dreaming, but like daydreaming too. So I'll be out and about and I'm like, I'm thinking in my head, like I should pull out my lasso here. There's a rabbit going across the street,
So look, for me, and I'm probably getting a little too personal here, but I actually have a lot of rock star dreams. Of kind of like of working there. Kind of like, I don't know if you guys played high school sports or some things that you did when you were younger that you really loved, but that you don't do anymore. And you have these kind of wish fulfillment dreams around it. For me, I have rock star dreams. I mean, I haven't had one in a while, but I've had a ton of them throughout my life where I'm back in the office, looking typically for Sam to give me some, validation of my work, stuff like that, trying to make sure that I'm impressing. So I have a lot of rock star dreams. I haven't had a Red Dead dream yet. I don't think I ever even had a GTA dream. But man, this game, like I'm 32% of the way through. I've played it quite a bit, and I love the fact that I still have 70% left of game left because, man, there is so much game that I've played, and there's probably so much for us to talk about. One thing that I think, and this is probably more relevant for Caboose than it is for Dennis, but I can't help but compare Red Dead to Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
Because Spider-Man was the last game that I really played all the way through recently, and Spider-Man is an open world game. Right? I mean, is that fair, Caboose? It's an open world game, right?
For sure.
So my big complaint with Spider-Man, and at the end, Spider-Man turned me. Like as I was playing it, I had an ongoing complaint about the game on the podcast and in discussions in the office that I felt the game was extremely repetitive. You know, like when it came to the challenges, they all seemed very repetitive to me. But the story of Spider-Man was so cool.
Yeah.
And Spider-Man himself was so cool. The fight mechanics, the swing mechanics, and just the fact that it's the greatest, it's my favorite superhero, right? So all those things kept me trucking through. And the end finale, spoiler, this is all spoiler, just to make sure.
It's been almost 2 months.
For Spider-Man, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, the end fight with Doc Ock was really cool. And, you know, but playing Red Dead has made me realize two things, if I can riff on this for a second. Number one is that the difficulty of Spider-Man is actually much higher than the difficulty of Red Dead. You know, I played Spider-Man on Amazing, and I don't believe that there's a difficulty setting for Red Dead, right?
There isn't, no.
So I've been playing Red Dead in the normal way. I don't think I've ever had to restart I think I've maybe failed one or two Red Dead missions. Like to your point, I did fail that one mission where you have to chase somebody.
That kid, the Mary's little brother.
Yeah. Like, because that's just like back in the old GTA days, we used to call those like race missions, right? Like you had to go, you know, you have to like basically race the kid, you know, and like get to a checkpoint, you know, timed with his checkpoint, or else you lose the mission. That one I messed up on once, and I think another mission. I like was riding my horse and I smashed against a rock and like died or something.
I've done that quite a few times.
Yeah. But I've never missed a mission because of the difficulty of the encounter, of the combat, right? But in Spider-Man, I played on amazing difficulty, which I believe is the middle one. And fuck, man, I had to restart those missions like almost every mission. Not every mission, but Spider-Man the game was difficult. Like I had to do that last Doc Ock mission like 16 times before I passed it. I'm not lying. I'm not proud of it or anything. It's just like it's just a reality. It was difficult. You know, it was very difficult at times. I don't see that with Red Dead, right? Red Dead isn't as difficult. But when you look at the open worlds and you compare the open worlds to each other, there is no comparison. Like Red Dead is a true sandbox game with true systemic storytelling where like Spider-Man is like here's like a bathtub and you can, you know, and just you pretty much got to go from mission to mission to mission, and every time you fight a mission it's the same fight, but you get a really amazing story that you're invested in because it's the greatest superhero ever made. So I do think that there's a debate there to be had that does Red Dead Redemption 2 make Spider-Man makes it more obvious that the critiques of it's very repetitive and they don't use enough of the sandbox is a fair critique. And I know, Caboose, I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on this because you haven't played both games, and you being an incredible fan of Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
And you know, you love Spider-Man. Look, I love the game too. But after playing Red Dead, what does Spider-Man feel like now to you?
Well, I mean, okay, I'll talk strictly from a gameplay standpoint. Red Dead has bugged me a couple of times. You know, there's a couple of times where I'm trying to get into cover, and he's like taking cover next to the tiniest little pole when there's like a big rock right there. There's too many. It's a little too clunky. The dead zone on the controller is a little bit weird. So I remember just recently I jumped back to Spider-Man after not playing it for about a week because I've been so deep into Red Dead, and I was like, it felt so free and I felt so alive. But I guess that's the part of it too with Spider-Man, that you get that feeling because it's that open world, because you get to swing around and you are Spider-Man, so you're going to get that feeling. But definitely, you know, the open world just pales in comparison to Red Dead Redemption. The map in Red Dead Redemption 2 is like, it's one of the biggest open world maps I've ever played in. But I feel like to have Spider-Man in a map the size of Red Dead 2's would increase that level of repetitiveness that you felt from the game. You know, because there's only so many random crimes that you want to do before it's just like, okay, I'm doing the same 4 or 5 of them over and over and over again. And that'll happen, I'm sure, once we all kind of complete Red Dead and do everything the game has to offer, aside from online, of course. we'll get that same sort of feeling in that, well, there's really not much else here. You know, I've even felt myself a couple of times now, because, you know, there's those random encounters and those strangers that you run into when you're just going through the open world. I've had a couple now where it's the same exact one. So I'm starting to get those little hints of repetitiveness, but there's no way that an open world game, a single player game, can keep you invested for like hundreds of hours before you start to get that feeling. So I hear what you're saying, but
do you think it's a fair? I mean, look, and for the record, I like Spider-Man. I thought it was a cool game, and the story was super captivating, and I think it's my favorite Doc Ock that I've ever seen. Is it a fair critique of the Spider-Man game that the sandbox element of it, the open world element of it, doesn't really give you that living, breathing element? I can agree to a point, because I feel like when you first get the game and you're first putting in those couple of hours, when you start up everything with Spider-Man, you'll feel that there is a lot to do and it can be overwhelming. Granted, some of the side missions are pretty much the same, and I do agree that there are certain side activities where, like, when you want to 100% complete the game, you'll be like, okay, this is starting to drag a little bit, like I'm doing the same activity over and over. So it is a fair critique, but to an extent, because I feel like there still is enough there, and there is enough to have a lot of enjoyment. But, of course, inevitably you will start to feel like, okay, I'm starting to do the same things here. We're like with, you know, and I know Dennis hasn't played Spider-Man, so I'll keep the Spider-Man thing to a minimum. But the DLC came out, right? The heist, right? And I downloaded it. Was very eager. I saw Caboose's wonderful, non-spoiler review of it on the channel, which I think you did a great job. And
thank you.
There was a commenter on our last podcast that said I was ass kissing Caboose, and you know what? He's right, because as you know, some people deserve to be ass kissed, and Caboose is doing a great job. You know, so it's okay to commend good work. But so anyway, I'm playing the heist, okay, and I'm like, I can't fucking, you know, like I after that Doc Ock mission, like the game left me wanting more, which I thought was really cool. By the way, you have to play this game.
Yeah, I have to borrow a PS. I don't have a PS4.
Oh, you don't have a PS4?
No. Okay. Otherwise, I would have played it.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm doing this mission, and you know, it's not a spoiler, but the mission takes place in a museum, right? Or like part of it does, anyway. And so I start doing this mission, and there's a thing in the museum. Spoiler warning, I guess, but people are trying to steal art pieces, and you got to stop them or whatever, right? Yeah. And I started feeling, oh my God, here it is again. The same friggin', like, you know, A, duck, A, duck, fight, move, jump, dump, duck, duck. It's just like, I was like, dude, like, I stopped playing it, you know? And look, maybe it's just to savor it, and like, you know, like I came back to it too soon, and then Red Dead came out and whatever. But I do think that there's a debate to be had. Maybe we have it when you play Spider-Man. Of you know, it's a fair apples to apples comparison, because they're both open world games, and we all love Spider-Man. We love Red Dead as well. What can these two games learn from each other? You know, like I think that there's an interesting discussion there.
Definitely, I haven't played Spider-Man other than the demo at E3, but from what I'm hearing, the criticisms of something like Red Dead is they feel the controls are clunkier, not as smooth.
I would agree with that.
Something like Spider-Man, then obviously with Spider-Man, like you said, is more repetitive, and I think it's the nature of that character, right? It's Spider-Man can't go down and sit down and eat in a restaurant. He can't, you know what I mean? Right. Like he can't do.
Peter Parker can.
I know, but I don't know if they want to go that route though. Yeah. If they want to do the Peter Parker, like you live Peter Parker's life, not just Spider-Man's life.
But in the game, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Caboose.
Well, what I was going to say is, like, just to take note from Red Dead, one thing that definitely would have been cool in Spider-Man is if you had to genuinely craft gadgets. You know, to take a point out of Red Dead's book, where you got to, like, craft certain bullets and things like that within the game. It would have been pretty cool if, like, you have to find these certain trinkets around the map, and then that'll help you craft a new gadget for Spidey. So maybe that's something they can take in mind for the sequel or future DLC if they plan on it.
Look, and another thing that I think is very interesting is the simplest, it's the oldest technique in open world games and sandbox games, is that you have multiple mission nodes. And even though there is a linear story to be told, which is definitely the case in Spider-Man, that you don't like. So Mary Jane could be a mission node. The girl who's like the police officer, I forget her name right now. Do you remember her name?
Yuri. Yeah.
Yuri's is a mission node.
Yeah.
Doc Ock is a mission node. And to give the player a little bit of freedom of how they're telling their own story, something as simple as that makes it more open world, makes it like more, wanting to like get, because like the magic of an open world game is being able to get lost down the rabbit hole. Okay, and with Red Dead, I've had moments in Red Dead where I swear all I wanted to do was like, there's a point in the game, this is not that much of a spoiler, but there's a point in the game where you get a boat, okay? And I wanted to go fishing. And I ended up going fishing in like the big lake. There's like a huge ocean almost between your camp and Blackwater, right? You can like literally take the boat across. Yeah. And I'm in the middle of the thing and I'm fishing and I'm like I wonder what would happen if I shot that dude's boat, So I shoot the guy's boat, and then they start shooting back at me. And what ends up happening is that your boat starts sinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, like your boat starts taking on water. And then all of a sudden I'm in the water, in the middle of nowhere, having to swim my way to Blackwater. And then I when I get to Blackwater, I'm obviously wanted dead or alive. So now I got to like stealth around Blackwater to find a friggin' horse to get out of Blackwater. So like that's the beauty of an open world game is that the systemic storytelling thing where it's like the systems bouncing off each other create the story, And when you're going to do all this effort to make an open world game, I just think that it feels nice when a company like Rockstar actually delivers on that stuff, you know?
Yeah. I feel, too, that a lot of Red Dead's benefit is that you can literally just choose to do whatever you want. If you want to be the worst person imaginable, that is something that you have available to you. But when it comes to Spidey, it's like he is a good guy. He is the hero of the city.
That's fair.
So maybe if they were to introduce something like the symbiote in the second game and like the option to kind of like the there was an older Spider-Man game called I believe it was Web of Shadows. I might have that wrong, but there was an older Spider-Man game where you could turn into the symbiote Spider-Man at any time, and there were a lot of parts in the story where you can choose either the path of good or evil. So maybe if they were to bring a system like that back for a sequel, then you can have a little bit more of that freedom and that true open world feel where it's like, okay, I can do whatever I want in this world. I'm not limited based on my character's abilities.
Yeah. That's a fair point. But I also think that it's possible to have these open world dynamics without being antisocial, because I actually think Red Dead Redemption does a great job in steering you away from being antisocial.
Yeah.
I think they make it it's not like Grand Theft Auto where it's like, here's 5 stars and there's an easy way in the game to go back down to 0. Like, even though once you're wanted, you can get out of the wanted zone and you pretty much go back pretty easily. But in Red Dead, I've been in situations where I bump somebody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Has that happened to you? You're like you bump somebody and then like
you're wanted.
You're wanted.
Yeah. That pissed me off though. I was like, I literally some guy barely bumped into my horse, and then he called the cops on me, and then they're chasing me, and I was like, what are you doing? Like
the worst thing that's happened to me, because for whatever reason, and I don't know who at Rockstar decided this to be the choice, but running and pressing Y, or if you're on the PlayStation triangle, is the same button to get on your horse, but also the same button to choke someone out. So there's a lot of times where I'm like running to my horse and I'm like mashing Y to just get ready and get on the horse, and he'll run over and choke someone, and I'm like, no, that's not what I wanted. And then I got a bounty on my head. 3 people are trying to fight me, and I have to surrender because I don't want to waste my time trying to kill police. So
yeah. So anyway, look, we could put a little button on that topic, but I do think it's a fun topic, right? Spider-Man's a beautiful game. Red Dead's a beautiful game. But the really smart thing about Spider-Man is that they picked the perfect time to come out. The best thing that happened to Spider-Man is that Red Dead Redemption was delayed. Because during the time that Spidey came out, everybody was talking Game of the Year.
Yeah.
Now it's like people even forget that Spider-Man came out this year.
So it sounds like for you, Mark, easily Red Dead 2 will be your game of the year over Spider-Man.
Yes. Yeah. Right now, Red Dead 2 is my game of the year so far, and this is with my deep love of VR, right? So number 2 for me is probably Skyrim VR, just because of how incredible that game could be. But yeah. Right now, Red Dead's my game of the year.
Caboose, what about you? Spider-Man or Red Dead?
I think it's almost a surefire lock that Red Dead will win Game of the Year from pretty much every gaming outlet. And honestly, just based on the buzz and what I heard, although I didn't play it, some people, for the most part, think God of War is above Spider-Man. A lot of Spider-Man got great reviews. I love it. I had a great time with it, but it's got to be Red Dead 2.
Yeah.
So, it looks like Red Dead 2 is the front runner for that. And I do think, and I can even compare Red Dead 2 to 1, where in the first game, I felt like there was too much repetition and too much of those chance encounter stuff.
In RDR1?
Yes. Versus the second one, this one, I feel much more varied. I feel like
so beautiful.
I can go and do what I want to do, and like,
and everything is alive.
In this, you can run into missions that aren't necessarily the main mission, but have significant weight to it. That's what I didn't get in the first one. I think the first game was like, if it's the main story, it's great. If it's not, it's just kind of stuff to like waste your time, you know.
Yeah.
Where this one is like
usually like goofy or funny stuff on the side.
Yeah, you know? and you're talking about those chance encounters. I ran into way more of those in the first game because I felt like they needed to fill up the space. Where this one's like, no, they have plenty for you to do in this.
Yeah. This is going to be a long podcast because there's a bunch of stuff I want to get into here.
Okay.
So one thing, and stop me if I'm rambling, but. For me, my Red Dead experience started out great, but it became better to do a little more ass kissing, as the commenter said. But I loved our own video that we produced that Caboose made about getting rich quick tips. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So when I saw that video, I had just started playing. I was maybe like 10% in or 8% in. So. I did only one of them. I only did the 3 bars of gold that you find in the
statues.
Yes, in the statues, and that got me a nice little kickstart. Right, I was at 1,500, and it got me a little kickstart. I didn't do the other ones that Caboose had mentioned because they look like a pain in the ass to do.
They are a bit, yeah.
But they were great. But I felt, look, with 1,500 gold or $1,500, I have a pretty good start. Right, like I feel like I didn't need it. Before I go to the next point, did you do the statues?
I did not because of what you're probably going to talk about next.
Yeah. So then
I was going to do them.
Yeah. So I was so into our video because I was like, man, like Caboose really did a great video. And then the website, collider.com picked up the video as well, did a very nice article around the video. Caboose, I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't actually.
Yeah, we put up 3 of them.
For the Easter eggs.
Yeah, we put the Easter eggs. We did the 10 useful tips and the get rich.
Yeah. Look,
That's awesome.
This is what Collider's all about: teamwork, everybody helping each other out. But then, as I was Googling our own video or our own story, I saw another one pop up on Newsweek of all places that talked about this gold exploit. Okay. So, and look, I will be very clear. It is an exploit.
Yeah.
Okay? It is an exploit. I do not recommend doing it. I did do it. Okay? And we all have different versions of this story probably. I did it once. And not because I didn't want to do it more times, because I messed up. And I got 15. So anyway, long story short, you can Google it yourself. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. But there's a way to get 15 bars of gold in the game.
30.
30. I'm sorry.
50 if you have an upgraded satchel. Yeah.
That's great. So I had first of all, kids, that's a very good tip right there. So I was able to get 30 bars of gold, but then I guess I closed the box or something, or I did something. And then, like, the second that I had the gold, I went straight to the fence, sold it all, bought the most beautiful outfit, right? Like, I have the vest with the tie, with the best hat, like the best gun, like the best gun that you can get at the time, right? And then when I went back to try to get more gold, like, it let me pick up 2 more bars, and then it closed off, right? So I wasn't able to do it, but there are some of my very close friends, okay, that I'm not going to divulge any names unless they want to confess themselves. That one guy that I know has over 150,000. Okay,
Jesus.
and
It's overkill.
and some other guy that I know has around 40,000 that I may or may not be looking at directly. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about this exploit.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where there's a glitch where you can keep repeating to get the gold bars if you do a certain steps in order to do it. I do think, though, once you get the 30 gold bars, everything else is just excess.
You had a great quote on Twitter about it.
Right? Oh yeah, like I said something about like, well, it's cheating, but I am an outlaw, so wouldn't Arthur do it anyways? So
I mean, if he found a way to glitch the universe,
he would do
he
it.
would do it.
The one funny thing though is even with this exploit and you get like tons and tons of money. When you talk to Dutch, he's like, "Man, we're so poor.
Yeah, I know.
We can't move out west because we don't have any money." And I'm like sitting here with like tons of money, going, "We do have money."
So look, so before we move on to like the other part of this exploit, did you do it? You don't have to confess to this, but Caboose, did you attempt it or?
I mean, I'll be really honest. I didn't do it until I beat the game. I feel like the guide that I put up, because I made the guide, I actually got the money.
Right, because the guide that you put up is legit.
Yes.
And like if you want to play the game as all the Skyrim heads say,
right,
lore friendly, Caboose's guide to get rich quick is all
legitimate
in-game
it's not
stuff.
Cheating.
It's not cheating. It's no exploits.
No.
The 30 bars of gold is an exploit.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I do recommend if you want the honest Red Dead experience or you don't do it.
Yeah.
I did it for 30. I'm not going to lie. I did it for 30 bars and I couldn't do it again because I messed up or else I probably would have gotten more.
But you don't need it though. I mean, that's the
But
thing.
yeah, so like when I did the $3,500 and I got that, that carried me through the rest of the game. Like I really didn't feel like I was running out. And then after I beat the game, I was like, you know what? I'll try it. I'll give it a shot. You know? So I just did it, and yeah, when you collect the 30 that you get off of the bug, even without like an upgraded satchel or whatever, that'll set you for however X amount of time that you're gonna play the rest of the game. You know, it's more than enough. If I remember, somebody was like calculating it in the comment section of a video I watched, and they said like $12,000 in that day and age is something like 400 grand now. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So one thing that I did do with the money, all right, so let's just talk about what we all did with the money, right? Because it's always fun, right? If you have a bunch of money, what do you do with it? So I bought a beautiful set of clothing, okay?
Very nice.
But I also upgraded the camp to its maximum thing.
So did I.
Okay? And it's not that expensive to upgrade the camp.
No.
You know,
It was like a couple grand or something like that, right?
Yeah,
I think it's just over $1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You get everything.
to literally unlock every single thing of the camp. And like just like Caboose said in his tips and tricks, if you want fast travel in the game, it's not like fast travel anywhere, but you do have to upgrade Dutch's tent first, and then your tent, and then you get the fast travel. I tried to go buy a horse with it, and then I realized I'm such an idiot. I realized that I had bought like the $99 version of the game to get, you know, because I thought that multiplayer was going to be in it before I really knew too much about what was going on. So like I was trying to get all the multiplayer perks that you usually get with like the the advanced version.
Right.
But if you buy the ultimate version of the game, you actually get a free thoroughbred to start the game. Which I didn't realize until I had money from the glitch, and I went to the stable. I was like, I'm going to buy a great horse now.
Yeah, and it was there for you.
And and the American Thoroughbred was there waiting for me. But another thing that Caboose made a video on that I highly recommend doing is that I went out and I found the Arabian Horse.
Oh, I still need to do that. Talk
a little bit about that.
Yeah, so if you go up into like the top left area of the map, like near the mountains, there's a lake. I think if I remember correctly, it's Lake Isabella. Yeah. And if you're heading around that area, you should hopefully see this like pearlescent, beautiful, bright white horse. And it's one of the best horses in the game.
Yeah.
Now, it's not the best. There are better ones that you can buy at certain stables around the map. But if you want to get an easy, really good horse for free, that's where you want to go, is to get the White Arabian.
Yeah, and it's a fun. And this is what I mean.
Challenging.
This is what I mean about open world, like rabbit holes. Like, you can create your own mission. You know, like in Spider-Man, you can, like, maybe that's what I'm trying to say. In Spider-Man, I never felt like you can create your own mission. You know, in Red Dead, you can find out, okay, there's this Arabian horse that's been spotted in this one area. I'm going to, like, you know, get my warm clothes on. I'm going to take my horse and I'm going to trek. It takes you like 15 minutes to get there. It's far as hell. And it's up the mountains and there's wolves running around. And when I got there, there was like this huge elk or something thing there. Did you see that there also?
Yeah, so even I think in my video you see I don't know if it's an elk or if it's a moose or whatever it is, but I remember when I saw it, I was like, oh my god,
it's huge.
Please
it's huge.
Do not run at me.
Yeah, so I put a bullet in this thing's head, okay, and the thing ran because like one bullet wasn't enough, so the thing ran into Lake Isabella, right? And like was like splashing around the lake, so I put 3 more bullets in it. It finally collapsed, but it was so deep in the water that I couldn't skin it. Yeah, so but I don't think that's a legendary. Is that's not a legendary animal, right? That elk thing.
No, there's a specific legendary animal actually in that area, and I'll get into more in that in a video that I got coming soon to the Collider Games channel.
Cool.
But yeah, it's a lot more intimidating than the one you saw. Trust me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Dennis, I highly recommend you do this. It's a lot of fun, and the horse is great. Like the horse is better than like that any horse you can buy.
Yep.
Until you do a certain mission that I don't know if you've done yet.
Probably not. I'm a little behind you. I moved camps, and then I did the mission where Dutch is like, hey, don't use any weapons, so we can keep a low profile, and then you save a certain guy.
Okay, but you still haven't done a mission that's about horses that's around the same time. Okay, so I think, is that when you can buy the horses after that mission, Caboose?
If I'm thinking what you're thinking, then I believe you're correct. There's even one more that you'll be able to buy, but I won't get into when or what the requirements are in terms of story, but there's even one more horse that you can buy that is the best horse in the game.
Right.
But like I said, as for a horse that you can find, you can get it for free, no hassle, no fuss, no muss. The White Arabian is the best in terms of that. And
it's a beautiful horse and it's a fun mission.
Yeah.
For the record, the best horse in the game is also an Arabian, right? But it's like it's like
rose gray.
Rose gray Arabian.
Yeah.
But anyway, Dennis, I highly recommend it.
Definitely, that's what's good about this game is even though I use the exploit and have all this money, it's not like that money is really going to buy me like to progress in the story. I'm still motivated to. I don't know if you ever played like any games like, well, even like StarCraft or any of those sim type games where like, do you remember Sims, the first one?
Of course.
Like, there was an exploit or a cheat code or something, and once we got that code, like this was like me and all my friends in my college, and it was like my girlfriend at the time, and my friend,
tortured houses. That's what people would build.
And then my friends' girlfriends were playing this game because it just crossed over because it was like this
You're talking
game
about The Sims.
The Sims. Because you could make a house and you could buy whatever.
And you could trap the people in their rooms and like have them.
Well,
like,
I didn't do that.
Oh, come on! You never tried that?
No.
No, dude. Back in the day, people used to make YouTube videos. Back when YouTube was called like Meta Cafe or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Where like people would build houses in The Sims and just trap people in like rooms.
Oh, really?
And just have 2 or 3, like literally 20, 30 people trapped in a house, not being able to escape their rooms, and they start going crazy.
Oh,
and like,
really?
And they die. Yeah, they ended up like killing themselves.
Oh, I did not do that.
Okay, well, anyway, I didn't do it myself necessarily, but I saw the videos.
Yeah. But once you got that cheat code and gave you all the money, it was fun to like splurge on everything, but eventually you kind of got bored with it because the whole point of the game was to like earn more money and then build all the stuff in your house.
The money code broke The Sims. The money code, I don't think, breaks Red Dead.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Red Dead,
No,
I'm still
definitely
motivated to play. It just makes things a little bit easier in terms of like, hey, I want some more ammo. I want nicer stuff for my horse, but you're not buying your way to win this game. You still have to work on the missions. You still got to engage with people, and you still have to do a ton of stuff.
There's a reason why, the most viewed videos right now for Red Dead is how to make money or how to get a lot of money real quick. Is because most people just kind of want to ditch that whole struggle of that. And if you're a person who enjoys the idea of like, oh man, I'm lacking on money, I got to be careful with my spending and be immersed in that way, then that's totally up to you. You don't have to follow any guides to make money. You don't have to do any exploits. But most people, they want to just get the money and be secure in that aspect so that they can enjoy everything else that the game has to offer. And with Red Dead, even being incredibly rich and having an endless amount of money, there's still so much that you still have to uncover.
Yeah. I'm fascinated by all of these things that the game has to offer. One thing that, and I hope this doesn't come out wrong, but one thing that does shock me about Red Dead, okay, and this is I think a sensitive topic, but one that's very prevalent in Rockstar games, Grand Theft Auto and stuff like that, is that in Red Dead there's no ladies of the night, and I don't remember if
it must have been a conscious decision to remove that aspect of the game, right?
And in Red Dead 1, I believe there were. I can't really remember right now. I know in Grand Theft Auto, obviously, there's a whole game mechanic fully built around the strip club and stuff like this. But I don't see that stuff in Red Dead. Was that in Red Dead 1? I can't remember now.
It must have been. I'm pretty sure there was brothels. I'm pretty sure there was brothels, and it's weird. Normally, a lot of games you'd say this is some sort of gratuitous thing. This is part of the culture and history of the Old West. This is not
part of the culture, the history of the human race, right? It's the oldest profession.
but even so much more. It's not like we're playing some whatever Call of Duty, and then they have a brothel on the side, right?
Fair enough,
this is the Old West. This is part of the culture. So not having it almost feels weird.
Yeah. So I will say that there are near some hotels there will be some women, and it's a pretty rare occurrence, but there will be some times where a woman asks you hey, you want to have a fun night? But the only options it gives you to reply is either to just respectfully decline or disrespectfully decline.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
So there's no option to do anything like what you were able to do in GTA 5. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't in Red Dead 1 because the center of John Marston's character was that he was a family man and, he was married and everything.
That's right.
So yeah, I don't think that was in Red Dead 1 either.
Okay, so look, that's we'll leave that topic behind, but that's a very good segue. Because one thing that I'm fascinated by now, and I'm doing all the Googling and all the stuff, is the fact that John Marston is such a big character in this game.
Yeah.
That to me is fascinating. How the main character that you play with in Red Dead 1 is such a big part of the story of Red Dead 2. And the way that Rockstar has integrated that into the experience of Arthur's relationship with John Marston. If you look, I loved Red Dead 1. I didn't play the first, the single player game that much, but the multiplayer game, I was addicted to it. But John Marston was still a part of me because I had played it enough, and I always kind of saw my single player character as him in a way, or my multiplayer character. How cool is that? And RDR1, now that it's long gone, like we were saying, at the end of Red Dead 1, something happens to Marston, right? Let's not, we don't need to say what it is exactly, but you play as Jack, right? Jack is your main guy. And the fact that Jack is also in the game and you have little missions with him as well, you
go fishing with him.
That integration of John Marston is fascinating to me.
I just think overall, the second one delivers more on the characters and the group dynamic and just the overall relationships. I think it motivates me more, having this camp with all these people and going out with them and hey, and the way how Dutch is kind of figurehead, almost cult-like figurehead of this group, and you have allegiance to him, but at the same time, some things you don't agree with him about, and it's just much more dives deeper.
We should probably throw a light spoiler warning on this video because we are trying to be respectful, and look, we both have not finished the game.
No,
I know that Caboose has, right? Yeah. Because my big question is, are we in a fast-moving train to the events that open RDR1, which are not very positive, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's some great stuff that happens there, right? Yeah. It's probably, and this isn't that much of a spoiler because if you've played, RDR1 has been around for 7 years, right? So, like the statute of limitations around the spoiler thing is out the window, but are we on a fast-moving train to that? And I can't wait to see how this whole thing unfolds.
Yeah.
Without any spoilers, spoiler-free, Caboose, how satisfied were you with the ultimate exposition of the story of RDR2?
As satisfied as I think I could ever be with any game's story ever. Honestly, it is. Wow. I still have to sleep on it. I still have to maybe give it a month or something, but really, from playing and beating the story and everything, this is probably my favorite game of all time.
Wow, that's big.
And the story is a big factor in that. Mm-hmm. As predictable as it may seem, because of where we know the events lead to with the first game, there is so much in Red Dead Redemption 2 that you will not see coming for a mile. And so trust me, you're in for a lot with the story. It's really, really well written. And John Marston's character specifically is so perfectly integrated to where he's not shoved in your face to where it's like, hey, look, it's the guy you play as from the first game, but he's also not just thrown aside.
No, it's excellent. Excellent the way that they weaved them in so far.
So let me ask you this, just because I know that Mark's at 30%. I'm at 20.
I'm at 32%.
Yeah, I'm around 25%. Is 100% completion, is that just the story, or is that 100% completion of everything?
Right, because I'm in chapter 3.
Yeah, I'm in chapter 3 as well.
Yeah, no, the 100% completion is 100% of everything.
Okay,
so there are certain items that you got to find. The hunting is a big part of that. There's legendary animals that you got to hunt. Side missions, of course, stranger quests, all that stuff comes into play.
So what percentage did you hit by completing the story? 80%? 70%?
I'm pretty sure I was at 82, if I remember exactly.
And how much hunting or fishing or whatever the hell else did you do?
Not a lot. There were a couple of stranger quests that I did, and some of them were specifically because you had to find those treasure maps and everything for that get rich quick guide. Mm-hmm. But aside from that, I mainly was going through the story, and then there was a lot of just free roaming, random encounters, not necessarily side stranger quests or anything. Yeah. A lot of it was just running through the main story, but there was a couple of side missions that I did do.
Okay. Yeah, I it's a good question. How much percentage completion does just doing the story give you, right? Is it a spoiler to ask how many chapters there are?
I mean, not to me, because I kind of want to know.
Yeah.
It's totally up to you guys if you want to know.
All right, so look, for the listeners, spoiler warning. I know that this has been a light spoiler show already. Yeah. We're trying to minimize the spoilers as much as possible. But I would consider this a spoiler to know how many chapters in the story. So spoiler warning, and I want to know.
I do too.
Okay, so we gotten the spoiler warning out of the way. There are 6 chapters. Okay. However, there is more, and I won't say anything else besides that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look,
that's all I'll say.
Yeah. So look, it feels like I'm in the middle of the game right now, right? From a progression standpoint, it feels like that. The game is incredible, and there's another part of the game that I want to talk about, which is another staple of Rockstar games, right? And that's what I call the antisocial behavior and the security system that fights against it, right? So I've been playing the game pretty straight, to be honest with you. My actual save, my valued save, the one that I really care about, which is the reason I didn't go back and do the exploit again, because I had already bought like my outfit. I had already driven and gotten the horse. Like I had done all these things. I'm like, I'm not gonna do that again. You know, like I've already lived that. Like it would feel cheap to redo that. But one thing that I haven't really done in the game is go crazy antisocial to test the security system. But you know, we had a very beautiful memorial hosted by Holly Payne this weekend for John Schnepp, and Jeremy Johns was in town, and Jeremy and I were playing the game, and we were like, okay, let's test the security system. You know, let's really put it to the test. So I was in the town of Rhodes. Okay, it's one of the towns. I
just got there
in Red Dead, and I managed to kill everybody in the town to the point where there was nobody left to come after me, to challenge me. It was literally a ghost town. Like I had literally killed every single person in the town, and I was still alive. Okay,
and this is not in your main save. This is like you loaded back or something like that.
Yeah. This is my main save, but I never saved that.
Yeah, okay.
You know,
right,
like you know how there's like kind of like in KOTOR, in Knights of the Old Republic, there's like a light dark meter.
Yeah.
And there's that in Red Dead as well.
Yeah.
Mine is like definitely like mine's in the middle of like it's right in the middle. After I killed the entire town of Rhodes, I was all the way red. I mean, I had like I slaughtered these people. And
were you like Anakin in the Younglings?
Yes, yeah. I went full Anakin on him. And then Jeremy and I were like, well, let's take this murder spree to Saint Denis. You know, and really go Jack the Ripper on it.
Oh man!
And Saint Denis, it's much harder, to like keep it going. But one game mechanic that I discovered that I didn't even know was there until I started the killing spree is the mechanic where you can run up on somebody and tackle them and stick the knife in their throat. Have you seen that mechanic, Caboose?
Yeah, it's pretty violent, but yeah, it's good. Like I said, I've accidentally done it because I'm trying to get on my horse. So I'm trying to get on my horse, and I'll tackle someone or choke them out when I'm not trying to do that at all.
Yeah, but if you have the knife out while you do that, I guess it starts to stab them.
Oh,
you know,
man. I've never tried that actually.
Yeah, and anyway, have you guys tested the security system yet?
No, because usually, even when like I do something, like I said, that like it annoyed me, like just bumping into a guy, and he got all upset and called the cops on me, and like I'm trying to like live here, I'm trying to survive. I'm not trying to
survive.
Not trying to like ruffle any feathers. If O'Driscoll comes along and talks some shit, then that guy gets to get shot. But other than them, I try to treat the nice people nice. It's just that if someone is being an asshole, that's when they get that's when they get shot.
What about you, Caboose? Have you tested the security system?
Not yet, but I do want to try what you did, where I'll just like jump in, save my game, so that like I have a save where everything is just the normal way that I want it, and go to town and just go nuts.
Yeah.
But I've actually been trying to be pretty good because I heard there's like a lot of benefits from actually having your honor level like really high up. You can get a ton of you can get a ton of discounts at most of the stores. Up to, I think if you get it like all the way full on the good side, you'll get up to 50% off on like every item pretty much. So there is a lot of benefits to being good, but I do want to try and just go nuts and just see how long it can last.
Yeah, so if you there's two quick things. So this is also a little unsavory, but we are talking. I mean, look, Rockstar games are adult, right? They're for mature audiences.
Yeah.
So a lot of these themes are fairly mature, right? So we should be able to speak with them fairly freely. So I read something online that I haven't tested because I have yet to see these characters, and maybe these characters are much later in the story or something. So again, spoiler warning, but this was something that I read online, so it was spoiled for me if this is the case, because I have not seen these characters in game yet. And that there's supposedly in the game, if you kill KKK characters, you don't lose honor in the same way that you lose honor if you kill anybody else. Like,
I haven't done that yet, but I think I sent you that text or whatever. Oh, you done it?
I've done it.
Oh, sounds like fun.
I was leaving camp and I just saw like there was a light in the woods. I was like, what the hell is going on here? and then and then what's there. So I went into my inventory, pulled a stick of dynamite, just kind of tossed it into the middle, and then I noticed, like, boom, honor is a plus. So
not only does it not hurt your honor, it actually gives you honor.
Yeah, it does.
Nice.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, spoiler warning. Is this something that's like dependent on story progression, or is this an open world element?
It's an open world element. Just
Okay.
something
You just got to find it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. One other thing. I know we're super deep in on Red Dead. I don't know how many other topics you have, but like, not that there's anything else happening in the world of gaming really that's important. But one thing that I've noticed that I do a lot is that, especially more when I started playing the game than I do now, is that I got pretty conscious about the sleeping cycle, and I found myself avoiding nighttime a little bit, and almost like, if it gets a little too late, like I'll pull over. I'll pull over, go to sleep. Mainly because I love the way that the game looks during the day so much, and I'm playing it on a projector, and sometimes at night it's not as vibrant as it is, during the day. But have you guys been like reacting to the day-night cycle at all?
I have not been having my character sleep that much.
Really?
Yeah, he eats sometimes. I'll feed my horse sometimes, but normally I forget about it. I just go and do my stuff. I know if you look under your character, my character will say he's undernourished or underweight or something like that because he just hasn't been eating enough.
Mm-hmm. Although there's benefits technically to having your character be underweight.
Really?
It tells you that your stamina is increased because he's underweight. Yeah. Whereas if you eat enough, then your health will be increased through that.
But this game isn't like San Andreas where the guy gets fat and skinny though, right?
No, nothing like that. Just you'll tell you like your character's overweight, and I think that will also affect your stamina. You won't be able to run as far or as fast, but you'll have more health because of your weight. But for me, when I was playing the story, I was like fully invested, fully immersed in it's nighttime, time to go to bed. All right, like we need to catch up on some sleep. And if there were times where a mission carried me through a night, I would be like, all right, we are sleeping extra. We're going all the way to the night, and then we're going back and sleeping again until it's daytime. But now that I've beaten the game, I am torturing my character. I'm sure he's going to have sleep paralysis at some point, and it's going to start haunting him because he's not sleeping at all.
I like the sleeping. To your point, like I like the role play element of it. Of like I love camping out in the wilderness. Setting up a nice little camp and cooking up some of the fish and like you can like cook and eat and like hang out by the camp and I pat the horse probably way too much. Because you're
trying to get the bonding increase.
Yeah. You're trying to. You know what really annoys me is that one time I was doing a mission, where I won't be any specific thing about it, but I lost my horse in the mission. Like, not that the horse died or anything. It just somehow I got separated from the horse so far that I couldn't whistle him anymore.
Yeah.
And somehow the horse had like been teleported back to camp. I don't know exactly what happened, but the horse was teleported back to the camp. And I was in the middle of friggin' nowhere without a horse.
And you had to walk.
Yeah, dude, I had to run. And then like I still didn't really know how to tame the horses. So like I came across some like Kentucky saddlers and like which is kind of like a medium to like shitty horse, right? Caboose, like the Kentucky, it's like a shitty horse. Yeah. But I couldn't tame them, like I couldn't figure it out. Like, and this is something that, a tip that I'll give the listeners. When you're taming the horse, you have to, obviously like hit the calm button as you're walking up to them. That part is easy. The part that's hard for me is when you get on the horse kicks you off, So the trick is, and I only learned this after hours of failing trying to saddle the Kentucky ones, and the Arabian one for me actually was the easiest one to tame because I had already done it so many times with the Kentucky guy. Is that you gotta? Is that with the left? So on your joystick, I'm playing on an Xbox. I'm assuming that this is the same for the PS4, but on your left joystick, you gotta point the joystick downward.
Okay.
Okay, so not pressed down, pointed down.
Okay.
So when you get on the horse, you're like pointing down on the left joystick, and then the horse is going to try to move to one side or the other, and then you got to move your analog stick to the opposite side. And it took me, it sounds so simple, but it took me a while to understand that. So point, not press down, because I think in the instructions it looks like it says press down, but point down, pull it down, and then go left or right on the analog stick, and you'll be able to...
balance yourself.
Yeah, to balance yourself. Yeah. Have you had to tame a horse yet?
No, not yet.
You're lucky.
Yeah.
You're lucky. Because
I guess I got really lucky because I didn't even know that when I was taming the Arabian, and it just worked out.
Oh, you really?
Everything that happened with me with the Arabian is completely the opposite of from what I was hearing that everyone else's experience was catching that thing. I've heard experiences where someone got on the horse, they tamed it, everything was good, and then a bear mauled him. I heard one where wolves come around and he's already someone's tamed the horse, but there's wolves, so the horse gets scared off again and then kicks you off. I heard so many stories. So when I was going in, I was on the edge of my seat, fully tensed up. My shoulders were up like this, but it just kind of worked out. So yeah. I guess I got really lucky.
So for me with the Arabian, you should do the Arabian tonight, just because it's just as fun as any mission in the game. You know,
I'll check out Caboose's guide and see where it is on the map.
But for me, after I got the Arabian, I was so proud of myself. Wow, I got such a sweet horse. And it's not saddled up yet, right? Because actually, no, that's not true. Because I did bring my saddle and I switched the saddle over.
Yeah.
So it was saddled up, but your other horse is chasing you, right?
Yeah.
And what happened to me, I started hearing woo woo, and I was like, calm down, girl, and a pack of wolves came down from the mountain, big old wolves. And luckily, I was able to shoot all the wolves. I think it was 2 or 3 wolves. And I was able to kill them. But you do need to watch out for the predators after you get the horse because they, for me, the wolves came.
Yeah.
The bear coming sounds really interesting. I've only seen a bear once in the game, which is at the opening. I haven't seen one again.
I saw one other time, actually. I think when you go into, there's an area on the map called the Grizzlies West. When you go into that area, you'll probably find more of them, but they are not extremely common. You won't see as many bears as you would running around seeing deer or elk or anything like that.
Yeah. So, are we low on time or can we keep going? What's the vibe?
We got 15 minutes.
Oh, okay. All right, good. Because I saw they gave us the red light. Yeah, we just at the studio for all the guys that don't know and ladies, we just installed, because we do so many podcasts in here, that we just installed a red get the hell out of the podcast studio light. And it just turned on for us. Yeah. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dennis. Keep going. It's just, look, RDR is a cool game. I'm into it right now.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, it's all my free time I just want to spend playing the game because I want to progress further into this story that I care about, which is, it's one of my favorite games of all time, and I haven't even finished it yet.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what multiplayer is like.
Oh, me too.
Yeah,
So
and it'll be improved because of everything they learned from GTA 5 online.
Yeah.
And now they're going to apply that to this.
Has Rockstar...
The only thing I'm scared about, sorry to cut you off, Mark, but the only thing that I'm scared about is the formula that they formed with GTA Online, in that they come out with free content, yes. And it's it's cool stuff, create your own nightclub or join a biker gang and all this stuff. But everything that you want to do costs a crap ton of money, and earning money in GTA Online is extremely either repetitive or just difficult.
Yeah.
So the incentive is to spend on the microtransactions or to buy that.
Yeah.
I hope they don't carry that.
And it
same
gets
formula
very
with Red Dead Online.
expensive. It gets very expensive.
Yeah. So I hope they don't carry that over with Red Dead Online. That's the only thing I'm hoping for, because outside of that, GTA Online is so much fun to play, and especially Red Dead's online for the first game was great. So if they can just take the formula of you have the map that's available to you in the single player, you can create posses. I'm hearing some rumblings that apparently you can buy some land, you can buy your own home and stuff like that. So I had a feeling that would be a thing anyways, but just as long as nothing is ridiculously overpriced and earning money in the online isn't incredibly annoying, then I'm all in on Red Dead Online.
Yeah, I don't want it to be like that situation that people were complaining about with Battlefront, where it's like you can earn it, but it's going to take you like a million years to earn like a character, or you can buy it. I want it to be legitimate. Like, I don't mind earning stuff in games. Just make it legitimate. Like, I don't have to like.
But Grand Theft Auto 5 is like, it's not even called Grand Theft Auto 5 anymore, right? It's like Grand Theft Auto Online. I mean, that's pretty much the way people refer to it now.
Yeah.
Well, that's how this one is. This will be
Red.
This will be called Red Dead Online. It's not 2 or whatever. It's just online.
Okay, I just thought it was like RDR1, where it was just like the multiplayer part.
No, they're actually calling it like almost like a separate game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And like, is there any guesstimate on when it's supposed to come out?
They said November. So it is November
this month.
Yeah.
Although I'm assuming it's probably going to get delayed. They announced that like 2 months ago, and they haven't said a word since.
I'll be honest. I don't mind it being delayed a little bit, just because I want to finish this game first.
Right.
I don't want
Me
that.
too.
I don't want the lure of the online, like kind of be like, hey, come play me.
Yeah,
come
because
play
like
me.
the second that the online pops, like I'll leave the single player.
Yeah, and suddenly the Mark's gonna be texting me like, let's posse up.
Yeah, let's posse up, boys. Yeah, we got to posse up, man. It's like, look.
You can hit me up anytime, Mark. I will be free and ready to go. Trust me.
Are you on an Xbox?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Is the game going to be cross-platform on the posses?
I don't know, because there's been this whole thing with Sony and the PS4, and they just relented on Fortnite. But Fortnite's Fortnite, so we don't know if they're going to...
But also Epic is Epic, and Epic has made a living off of cross-platform. Their engine is built on that
But
concept.
they were able to, bully even Sony, who has the #1 console out there, to allow the cross-platform. So I just don't know if they're going to allow something else like Fallout 76 or Red Dead Online.
Are there more PS4s and Xboxes?
Oh, yes, there are.
Really?
Yeah.
A lot of what allowed Fortnite to go cross-platform with the different consoles as well is there was a ton of controversy with that. I don't know if you heard about this account lock, but basically you have your Epic Games account, which is your Fortnite account. And if you signed in and you played it predominantly on the Xbox and you bought a ton of skins or whatever, and then just one time you signed in on a PlayStation, that account is now locked to the PlayStation. You could not sign it in back on your Xbox.
God.
Now,
that
granted,
sounds terrible.
That's all been lifted, but there are horror stories of people who spent like $500 worth, and they just went to a buddy's house. He had a PlayStation, sign on their account there, and the account's just lost. It's just gone unless you have a PlayStation. So it's good now, but I think the reason that like PlayStation was like, okay, fine, we'll give you the crossplay, is because there was so much controversy regarding that.
There's a huge backlash over it.
So Caboose, you have 100% save?
For the story, yes. I haven't 100% completed everything yet, no.
But if you get 100% save, that means you've finished everything. Or is your save not at 100%?
I think he's only completed the story, but there's still like stuff
there's still
he
side
can do.
missions and stuff like that I
he
can
said
do.
His legendary animal hunting.
But like your save game says 100%, or it says like 89 or 90 something.
Right now I'm at 85 or 86%.
Wow.
86%.
Yeah.
And you said about 80 was when you complete the story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And right now you're working on the epic hunting, which the hunting is a blast, but I haven't done it really at all.
I only did the bear.
You'll find how
bear.
fun it is if you go to the Trapper in Saint Denis and look at all the different clothing that you can get through hunting. You'll figure out like, okay, it's time to put time into this.
Okay, that's a good tip.
There's some really cool clothes that you can get off the Trapper just by getting some of the rare animals that you can hunt.
Now tell me something, and I know we were talking about this before we started taping, but the trinkets that you can make, do the trinkets give you character boosts?
I don't know if they necessarily give you character boosts. There's definitely certain things that is really worth taking the time in crafting or figuring out what you need to craft them, because first of all, some of them will help you with hunting, like big time. There are certain arrows that you need to craft that if you don't craft them, you won't be able to get the perfect pelt off of certain animals. There's also some things that you can craft for ammo that is just, first of all, really cool. You can make like fire bullets, explosive bullets.
That I did. Yeah, the fire bullets.
And it's also really good too if you don't want to just stay stocked up on like canned food and stuff that barely gives you any health. You can just hunt animals and just stow away their meat and cook that and eat that, because that'll give you a ton of health, ton of stamina, a ton of deadeye. But outside of that, I don't know necessarily if there's anything you can craft that specifically gives you a boost for your character.
Okay,
I'll have to look
enough.
into that, though. I don't know yet.
Yeah, fair
I'll have
enough.
to look into it.
Speaking of Deadeye, so I have a huge question about Deadeye. At some point in the game, my Deadeye stopped working the way it did in RDR1, where it's like you hit it, and then you kind of scroll over the enemies, and the little X's pop up.
Yeah.
And then you hit the thing, and then it starts shooting them or whatever. Now I hit Deadeye, and it just slows everything down, and I get one shot, and then like it kind of turns off. What's the deal with that? Like, what?
You're supposed to paint the target yourself. I think you got to hit R1 or RB, and that'll make the X's. So you can hit that as many times.
So why did it stop painting the targets? Is that just part of the progression of it or something?
Yeah, it's just a part of the progression. I think as well, if you upgrade it even more, it'll get to a point where everything slows down. You'll see critical points on certain enemies. And then even after firing a shot without painting an enemy, you'll still be in Deadeye so long as you still have that meter left and can just move to another target. But right now, I think what's going on with your Deadeye, the point that you're at with the upgrading of it, is you have to paint your own targets. So you got to hit RB on a specific target, then you can move on to the next one, hit RB on them, and then either when your Deadeye runs out or when you shoot, your character will do all that stuff for you.
So thank you, by the way, because that's important knowledge. Have you been using Deadeye?
Not really, just because, the Deadeye meter is so, you got to fill it up and then...
Yeah, I like Deadeye, but...
I like it, but it's just one of those things where, I think I only use it when I, have to use it.
So here's the trick, okay? Here's a trick that I'm going to pull out of a hat for you guys, and you guys probably already know this trick. If you're in a firefight, okay, and you're out of ammo, let's say you have one shot left, and you don't want to do the full ammo reload animation, you can hit Deadeye, and it automatically reloads your weapon.
Ah, interesting.
Have you seen that little bug, Caboose?
You know what? I've had it happen to me without me actually noticing that that's what's happening, because there were times where I was like, I'm out of ammo here. Why was I able to just unload 6 shots there?
Yeah.
And yeah, you're totally right. The gun automatically reloads when you go into Deadeye.
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yeah, every time you go into Deadeye, the weapon that you're using automatically reloads. Huh. So it's a little trick, because that way, if you're in an intense firefight...
Yes, and you need to fire quickly.
Right. So when I destroyed it, they call it like the slaughter of the town of Rhodes, right? when I slaughtered every single person, the women and the children too, to quote Anakin, I took them all out. I was using that trick. And Jeremy Johnson's like, you son of a bitch, I can't wait to go home and try that. Yeah, you can absolutely reload your weapon without having to go through the animation by hitting Deadeye.
I wonder how far Jeremy is, because he had barely started the game before he came down here.
Right, because he was only playing Metal Gear Solid 5, I think. Yeah. And then he saw we were all geeking out on it, and then he started posting pictures about it.
Yeah, so I wonder how far he is now. If he did any binge.
He probably beat it, knowing him. We should get him on the podcast one day. He's a big gamer too. But so look, I'm trying to think. Caboose, are there any other things that you want to talk about with RDR that we haven't touched on yet?
I feel like we've talked about a lot. The last thing that I would want to talk about is spoilers.
Yeah, I think we'll have a spoilers review eventually with you, me, and Mark. Yeah, probably I don't know, another week or so.
Yeah. First of all, we should do a really good spoilers review
where we just go all deep into it.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm still only in chapter 3, so I gotta get going. But
if he says 80% is about. So we don't. It's not 100 to finish the game, about 80.
Yeah, so I figured I got 30, 40 hours left, which is fucking a lot. That's a lot of gameplay.
It is. Yeah, I'm only just picking off every night an hour or two.
Yeah. So Caboose, really, your favorite game of all time, huh?
I think so. Before this, it was Batman Arkham City.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then right up there was the Last of Us.
Okay.
But this for me,
both great games.
Yeah, this for me was just the perfect package. It's a great open world. It's got a phenomenal story. It's got great characters that'll keep you invested. It looks incredible. The graphics are the best you will see for a game of this generation. And yeah, it is the ultimate package for a game. So it's got to be my
10. It's a 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's points where like the sky is kind of gloomy and there's like, it hasn't rained a lot in my game.
It's rained a few times for me, but not often.
But there's times where like the cloud cover is really thick and it's like, like later in the afternoon and you're like riding on the prairie and you're like, what the fuck?
Or even at nighttime, sometimes the moonlight that's hitting the trees
so
or the road and you're riding.
Yeah, it's unfucking believable. Rockstar Games has created a masterpiece. All my old friends that there's very few of them left from the old days that are still working there, but there's some that are. I've already congratulated them, personally. Like, it's a masterpiece, and like, it shows you what you can do with an intelligent, like, executive team, tons of dedication, and time and money. Like, they obviously invested a lot of money into that game, and it shows. Like, every dollar that they put into that game, you can see it on the screen.
Oh yeah, and just the vastness of it, like just the animations.
Yeah.
That's one of the things. Like, you have so many varied animations for everything that you do that I don't. And this is a complaint of the first game. The first game, I felt the guy was a little more robotic, right? Like you could really see the movements, and he'd go into like an animation to do something.
It makes me want to play it again, to be honest with you. RDR.
But this one feels like it's smooth. You know what I mean? Like your head turns and you look at people. And,
yeah, and like everybody knows you. Like you can like. Sometimes you're riding around in the old Driscolls or the Pinkertons or whatever, like catch you in the middle of the road and like, look, they're here, take them out. And like, it feels like PvP used to feel like an SWG, right, in Star Wars Galaxies, where you're cruising like with your buddies, hanging out, and then like
some guys attacking.
Some guys just come at you out of nowhere, like real players, and just start attacking you. You know, like, the game's absolutely phenomenal. One thing and like I know we're almost out of time, but one thing I do want to bring up, okay, totally different game. Okay. Last night I was watching basketball. I was watching the Lakers, and I saw an ad for Fallout 76.
Yes.
Have you seen this ad?
Yes.
What? I'm concerned about this game.
It's not. It's getting mixed reviews from the fan base.
Is the game out?
It's coming out next week, next Wednesday. Me and Caboose are getting it. We're going to be playing it online together. We're going to do like a joint review. I'm sure Caboose will put up some tips and guides for it. But right now, what we played so far, it's not. It seems because they're making that transition from a single player game to a multiplayer game, you're losing a lot of the stuff that makes Fallout great. Yeah. And so far, because we haven't played that much together, I mean, me and Caboose played like an hour and a half together. We didn't get that camaraderie yet. We haven't gotten like, hey, let's build a camp together and do all this stuff.
So it's multiplayer only.
It's multiplayer only. You can play it single player if you want. Is it
MMO? Is it an MMO basically?
Kind of, yeah. It's a limited MMO because they want only like I think 24 people per map, and the map's huge. Like it's a humongous map.
Yeah.
So it's like 12 a side, or is it 24 people?
No. 24 people, and you can choose if you want to posse up. Like me and Caboose can be on the team, and then if we see you and we invite you to our team, then you're part of our team, and then you come to our camp, and we build stuff up.
But you and I could attack each other at any point.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on it, Caboose? Have you been messing around with it?
I mean, so yeah, like Dennis said, we played the beta a little bit. And I've never experienced a Fallout game before this, like full disclosure. I've never like fully invested my time in a Fallout game. Like I've played, Fallout 4, Fallout 3, but I've never like fully sat down and just put a ton of hours into them.
Yeah.
But I do, just from the limited time that we played 76, I can tell that it's really lacking in terms of here's this open world. Here's this idea, this promise that it's always online and there's always going to be people within your map. But outside of those people, there's no one to interact with. There's no NPCs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's no real way to like
NPCs
really
such
tell
a big part of it.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just there's no way to really tell a story, and I don't know how invested I'll be, especially being a newcomer to the franchise now. The one draw for me was that, hey, this is online. I'll get to interact with someone. At least I can have someone kind of carry me along and show me the way of Fallout, but it might be the least good experience that I could get out of this franchise, considering It is like 10% of what a Fallout game has always been expected to be.
Yeah, I think we'll get a better gauge of it once we invest more time into it. Once we put a good, like, maybe 10, 15 hours into it, then we'll be able to see, okay, does that kind of team dynamic work for this game? Because right now, playing it single player is not that great. And limited me and Caboose playing for an hour and a half didn't, maybe if we get 3 or 4 people together and we start building camps and we start going on missions together. Right now, me and Caboose we were doing like very small, tiny missions that didn't really require much, but hopefully that branches out to bigger stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like a bit of a buzzkill after Red Dead, huh?
It's different. It's weird. I think we talked about this on our last podcast, how Red Dead swerved one way, which is headed deep into the storytelling, focus on the single player, and then Fallout went the other way and went to the multiplayer route. So,
which is so weird because those Bethesda games, Skyrim, Fallout,
they're all single player.
They're all hyper single player. Yeah. Even though there is Skyrim Online or Elder Scrolls Online, I've never. I played it a little bit. I'm a huge MMO guy, but like it's tough to compare against WoW and Star Wars Galaxies. So I never got into Elder Scrolls Online, but on VR I got super into Fallout, and on VR I got super into Skyrim.
Yeah.
And Caboose, we got to get Caboose a VR rig sooner or later, because that's a really fun way to experience Fallout.
Yeah.
Because I had never played Fallout either, but when I played it in VR, I was fascinated by the story. I love the story of Fallout 4.
It's great.
It's a great story. Basically, with no spoilers, even though that game's been out for years, you're this guy who, after the nuclear attack, you lose your son. Like you watch your son get kidnapped in front of you. And the whole story is you trying to track down your son. Yeah. And it sounds pretty pedestrian, but it's actually really compelling the way that they tell the story.
Because you got to explore the world. Yeah. You got to meet new people, and you talk to them, and they can maybe
Diamond
give you
City
hints.
And like all the NPCs in Diamond City. So there's no like Diamond City type thing?
Well, there's places like that, but they're just not inhabited.
They're empty?
There's just us. Just
there's
the
either
player,
enemies that you have to take down or other players.
Yeah. I think this game will be more
but there's no PvE like challenges, like you against like bots or like enemies.
Yes, there is. There is.
Yeah.
That's the part that
they're just mindless enemies.
They are. But then me and Caboose didn't get into like the bigger enemies yet. Like we were playing we were just fighting like the zombie like people. But you can get later on where there's like kind of big bosses and stuff like that. You can send like get nuke codes and stuff like that. I just don't think we've gotten far enough to make a real assessment of the game. I think once we play it some more, then we can decide, okay, did this work or did not, or maybe it doesn't work, or maybe it's one of those games that you have to put in 10, 15 hours into before it starts working for you.
I saw the commercial last night and I was like, what is this? And then I realized, oh, okay, this is because my first thought was whatever video game this is in trouble because they're up against Red Dead. The second thing I was like, why this song? They have some like pop song on it. Do you remember what song it is?
I don't know. The older ones was West Virginia. Because it's set in West Virginia.
No. This was like brand new pop music. So this must be a new commercial I haven't seen yet.
I don't know. I just know I saw the one where when you watch it, you're like, oh, that's not the graphics. You know what I mean? There's a commercial on air right now that is, completely like CG created that makes the graphics look great. But anyone that's played Fallout or even just knows generation consoles, that it's not real. Like the graphics aren't from the game.
Yeah, so this Beach Boys song.
Yeah.
Right, this is pure CGI.
Yeah. This is like when you watch Warcraft or StarCraft and they have the cutscene. That this is the graphics that they use.
Yeah, look, it's such a shame because there came a little point there where Skyrim and Fallout and these games, these Bethesda games, especially Skyrim, were the epitome of the open world, like Sandbox.
Oh yeah, Fallout 3 is either my favorite or one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah.
Because of the story.
Yeah, we should do a podcast one day. Really take some time and do our favorite games of all times list, and pick maybe the top 5.
Top 5 sounds good.
Top
That'd be
5
fun,
for
yeah.
each.
Yeah.
So cool. All right. Did you have anything else you wanted to go over?
No, I think me and Dorian can go over something tomorrow. We'll do like a little bonus video.
Yeah. What else is out there?
Dorian just went to Just Cause 4 event, which Just Cause 4 is, I think, a Xbox exclusive that's coming out fairly soon.
I played the first one just a little bit.
Yeah. The second Spider-Man DLC is coming out on the 20th.
Oh, nice.
November 20th.
Yeah, pretty soon.
Is it so? I haven't finished the heist yet, but is it a continuation of the Black Cat story, or is it?
I don't think. Is it? Okay, it's called Turf Wars.
Yeah. It's a direct continuation. There's a character that is heavily hinted at in the heist that Turf Wars is all about.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
Cool.
And then I think Dorian played the Shadow of the Tomb Raider DLC. I think the first one came out. And then there's rumors of a new Zelda game because people see some job postings about that.
But didn't they just come out with one?
I'm not sure.
Breath of the Wild, yeah.
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 Like the one for the Switch. It's like people say it's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
That's probably in contention for Game of the Year as well, right? Like because that came out this year.
I think
was that this year or last year?
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, it might be last year.
Yeah, I think that might be last year. And,
it launched with the Switch, didn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't have the Switch.
I don't either.
Me neither, yeah.
I owned in my life, which is it's embarrassing to say because, but I was younger. I didn't have the means that I have when I got older. But in my life, I only owned one Nintendo.
Me too. NES. That's the only one I owned.
Yeah.
N64
No.
and NES.
For me, it was the N64.
Oh, okay.
So that's not true because I owned the Wii, but I think I turned it on.
Oh, that's right. I owned the Wii as well.
Yeah, I think I turned it on 3 times.
Oh, I played it a bunch for like 3 months and then I stopped.
Yeah.
And I almost didn't even consider a video game console, right? I felt like it was more like something you went to the arcade to play, right? Like 'cause it was all about motion.
But like for me, the N64 was it was like a true console because Nintendo, I think before or definitely after it, became very niche.
Yes.
Like with the GameCube and then like the Wii.
There's far less third-party software on there, and it's all driven by first party. It's all Nintendo properties. It's Super Mario, Mario Kart, Zelda, Metroid. Like all those games are what drives people to buy it. If you aren't into any of those games, there's no reason to buy a Nintendo.
But back in the N64 days, they were still trying to
GoldenEye.
trying to keep it open.
Yeah.
Or like have it be more broad or something. But anyway, I don't own a Switch. A bunch of my friends do, and they love it. But I don't own it. What about you, Caboose? You have the Switch?
I don't have the Switch. Yeah, just like you, I've owned like 2 Nintendo products in my life. The funny thing about Nintendo consoles is it's the best console that your friend has.
Yeah.
Right.
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 I'll never have owned a Nintendo console, but I've known people to have a Switch, and I'm like, I want to play this. I want to sit down and play the Switch.
Jeremy loves it. Jeremy,
I never pull the trigger. I should pull the trigger because I hate when I'm on long flights, I can't watch 2 movies. I can't do it. After I'm done one movie, I'm just drained. So a Switch would be the perfect thing for me to pass that time. But I don't know. I've never pulled the trigger and bought one.
Well, look, I've heard that that the Zelda game is worth it. Just that game alone is worth it.
That and Mario, I heard was great.
Because like with the Zelda game, it's like true open world as well. Where,
is it?
In the beginning of the game, if you want, you can go straight to like the last boss.
Okay.
And try to fight the last boss. It's like
and get your ass kicked.
But that it's that kind of game where it's like you're thrown into this beautiful open world from the beginning. But anyway, man, that was a lot of fun today. I could probably talk about Red Dead for a while, but I covered a lot of the points that I had about it.
And we'll have another spoiler-filled review when we're
so excited to
when we're completed. Yeah, and we talk everything about the game.
Yeah.
All right. So that's it for this episode. I want to thank everyone for joining us today, whether on the podcast or on the YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Collider Games. And it's on our podcast is on the Collider Factory podcast. Also check out a bunch of other podcasts that we have for Movie Talk, Jedi Council, Heroes, Sports, everything else.
Rule of Two,
which is on the Jedi Council podcast feed. Mark, where can people find you?
I'm just at Mark Fernandez, but you can find me just here trying to keep Collider moving with the rest of the team.
Yeah, and Caboose, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at CabooseEK, and of course on the Collider Games channel, covering some more Red Dead 2 stuff.
Cool. And we will see you guys next time.